Hi everyone, today Cecily and I will conduct a critical reading response to a journal article entitled Do International Baccalaureate Programs Internationalize or Globalize? It was written by Yan Hiu in 2006 and published in International Education Journal. The article was a response to Paris' writing titled The International Baccalaureate, a case study on why students choose to do the IB. In his article, Paris pointed out that IB diploma program results from a process of globalization with the potential to usurp national cultures and values. He also mentioned that IB diploma program is not in tune with the holistic learning as experienced by many cultures, even indigenous cultures. He argued on despite the following approaches. First of all, he provided the definition of international education, since that is what IB programs claim to offer. Secondly, he talked about each of the IB programs briefly and how they provide the international education. Thirdly, he tried to identify the holistic education and transdisciplinary features in the IB program, and followed by a discussion of globalization and internationalization as applied to IB programs. Lastly, Hugh discussed whether IB programs represent a Western-dominated educational paradigm. In the first section, Hugh provides a brief overview of international education. He lists the four essential elements. Firstly, understanding cultural identities across national frontiers. Secondly, knowledge about global issues and the interdependence of nations. Thirdly, critical thinking skills applied to transnational issues and world cultures. Lastly, an appreciation of the human condition around the world. In the next section, he'll attempt to indicate how three IB programs interpret and fit in the concept of international education. He believes that both MYP and PYP promote a pedagogy of interactive class discussion and critical thinking skills. For the IB diploma program, all students must choose a subject from 6 major discipline areas. All students must also complete an extended essay, the TOK course, and CAS program. Those components emphasizes respectively research skills, critical thinking skills, and the development of the whole person. The mission statement refers to knowledge, skills, and attitudes that support an holistic education and are very much in line with the international education. The text of IB program curriculum guides aim to develop critical thinking skills and an understanding of cultural identities. Through all those arguments, Hugh believes that IB programs do offer international education. In the following section, he'll attempt to indicate the holism and transdisciplinarity features in the IB programs. The first example is the TOK course. It explores knowledge claims across the major discipline areas and cultures using critical thinking skills. The second example is the group science project. This promotes cooperation amongst the students and develops an appreciation of the connectedness of knowledge. The third example is CAS. CAS contributes to holistic education as it develops the whole person through experiential learning. Lastly, the IBO has developed 3 transdisciplinary diploma subjects. Therefore, based on the evidence, Hugh believes that IB program provides a holistic education with a transdisciplinary approach.
In this section, Hill talks about the difference between globalization and internationalism, and he starts with the definitions put forward by Paris. So Paris states that globalization is essentially a dominant recessive relationship, wherein power is wielded by one culture over another. Internationalism, however, is a mutually beneficial and balanced relationship wherein power is shared equally and ideas are shared as well. He then goes on to talk about Walker's perspectives on globalization. Now, Walker outlines 3 different perspectives here. First, he talks about the hyperglobalists, who see overall global policies as being more powerful and significant than individual nations, and therefore believe that the IBO ought to be equally valid and adopted in every country. Global skeptics, however, reject international systems and believe countries should work together to best serve their citizens. Therefore, they see the IB as a beneficial program only for internationally mobile people. Transformationalists, finally, believe that global trends are most important in driving improvement of national systems, and therefore the role of the IBO is to propel national education systems to provide a better service while retaining their national identity. Hill then goes on to address the tension that exists between international and national systems of education, but he begins by acknowledging that education is fundamentally a national responsibility. So he starts with Paris's view that the IB is globalized because they provide extensive published material that is the same for every nation all around the world. And Paris believes this may lead to a dangerous homogenization of ideas that could eliminate national identity. Hill, however, argues that the IBO is not trying to supplant national curriculums, but offers a system built on international sharing of ideas and knowledge. He says that they make deliberate attempts to allow countries to make choices based on their own culture, which they certainly can do in different circumstances. Like I can attest that in the English curriculum, English as first language, schools are able to make a lot of choice about the texts that they select and the countries and languages that they're drawn from. So Hill therefore sees the IB as international, not globalized. Finally, Hill raises the question of whether the IB programs are a system of Western domination, and he opens with Paris's view, which is that essentially, in requiring countries to give up their own values and educational ideas in favour of Western ones required by the diploma program, the IBO is a globalised system of education. While Hill agrees that many of the values professed by the IBO, such as open-mindedness and collaboration, are somewhat westernized, he disagrees that countries necessarily have to give up their own values when taking on the program. In independent decentralized educational systems, individual schools can adopt the IB as a means of affording a more international view for their students. In this way, diverse student bodies are better provided for, while more culturally homogenous schools are able to improve their students' potential for international mobility. Furthermore, Hill raises Malouf's multiple allegiances theory, which suggests that students are able to value their original cultures whilst also learning to value the cultures of others. Hill also observes that the IBO introduces international perspectives, always using the school's home culture as a reference point. Therefore, the original culture is never abandoned. However, Hill also acknowledges that no non-Western countries have adopted the IB into state schools yet, while numerous Western nations have, and he attributes this to national pride and fear of losing one's culture. We know, however, that this is no longer the case. This article was written in 2006. But now the IB is increasing in popularity, particularly in South American nations, and being encouraged by national governments. Ultimately, Hill argues, the IB is based on an open sharing of ideas among its stakeholders. The IBO is committed to working with its schools to ensure effective international education through its curricular system. Hill believes that an IB education does not enforce cultural change on the societies that adopt it, but he also acknowledges that more research is needed to confirm this.
Here is the question. As teachers, what strategies can we use to ensure that the IB is international, not globalized in our schools? Thank you.